Today I'm going for one from the non-fiction shelf. The non-fiction shelf is mostly over there and panning would be too difficult, so I'm not going to do it. This is an author who I've been reading for a number of years. He can be a tiny bit hit and miss, but Simon Winchester, when he gets a hit, it is a bullseye. And this was one of the first books, if not the first, I'm not sure about that, of his that I read. It's The Map That Changed the World, and it is about geology. Now, I did a little bit of geology at uni, but it wasn't the primary one for me. I wasn't terribly good at it because they kept wanting you to estimate things, and I was insecure about estimation. I like things you can measure. I don't like things you have to guess, and I especially don't like what they call the guesstimate. It's either one or the other to me. Oh, it was when I was at uni. I've become a little bit more open-minded about it now. Anyway, The Map That Changed the World came pretty close to rocking my world, and I'm going to read a little bit from the description of it. The online description of it. It starts in 1793 in England, where there's a canal digger named William Smith, who didn't come from a rich or well-connected background, but he did have a passion for rocks and fossils. He was a canal digger, and he discovered that by tracing the placement of fossils which he uncovered in his excavations, one could follow layers of rock as they dipped and rose and fell clear across England. Not just in one area, but all the way across England. And indeed, across the world. So this knowledge made it possible for the very first time ever to draw a chart of the hidden underside of the earth. And determined to expose what he realised was the landscape's secret fourth dimension, Smith spent 22 years piecing together the fragments of this geology to create an amazingly beautiful hand-painted map. If I ever make it to England again, apparently it's possible to view this map, though not easy, and I want to. Instead of receiving accolades and honours, of course, he ended up in debtor's prison, the victim of plagiarism, and virtually homeless for 10 years or more. Finally, in 1831, this quiet genius, who's now known as the father of modern geology, received the Geological Society of London's highest award, and King William IV offered him a lifetime pension. It's a very human story, and one is agonised for the man, fascinated by his fascination, intrigued by his commitment. It's a journey. It's as much of a journey for the reader, or at least it was for me, as it is for the man. And it was so vivid. It made everything so very vivid. So the amount of bravery he had in going against the dogma was considerable. And he spent the time inventing and creating ways of making geological maps before he put together the final one. There are plates in this book which are a major fascination to me. Recreations of the maps, such as this one. Like I said, Simon Winchester occasionally writes a book that's a mess, but this one was a complete hit. If you like popular science and geology, you should love this one. I did. I've reread it twice, and it spurred me on to reading more about fossils and more about geology. Earth sciences in general, we sometimes forget how recent they were. When this first came out, there was no concept, not when the book first came out, when the map first came out, there was no concept of plate tectonics, there was no concept of geology. It was still fairly widely in the West believed that the entire world had been created a few thousand years ago, geology, fossils on the hill and all. So this story of how geological sedimentation and volcanic activity helped create the layers is quite fascinating. Anyway, for the non-fiction readers, read it. With the warning that Simon Winchester definitely isn't for everyone, I still think this is one of his better ones.